G'day legends, welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. Going to go through our rapid review for round 12. Pretty big weekend for me. I spent the weekend down in Canberra, went down to watch my brother play Jersey flag and then hung around for first grade. As you would have seen on social media, great to get a little game day experience with the Canberra Raiders, see their stadium and all their facilities and everything. Very, very impressive. I will say this about the Canberra Raiders. They are doing the historical side of the game and club culture through historical stuff at their club better than anyone I've seen, to be honest with you. Every single player is, introduced to the club via the history of the club. They understand where the club's come from, how successful the club was in the 90s, the history of, players they've signed and everything. It's very, very impressive. And I think that Ricky Stewart, he's front and centre of that along with some of the other staff that I met over the weekend. So shout out to the Raiders. A tough weekend for them. But yeah, I was very, very impressed with everything down there in the nation's capital at GIO Stadium. Let's get stuck into, guys, to our rapid review. We're going to do Thursday through to Saturday night. We've got the Sunday games that are on at the moment, which I'll have to catch up on a little bit later just to make sure we get the review out for you guys at a normal time. Apologies for the last few weeks. We've been sick. We've been in Auckland. We've been all over the place. We'll touch and go to do today's returning from Canberra, to be honest with you, but we thought we might as well jump back in the saddle. So thank you for your patience. Let's go Thursday night, 44 points to 12. The Canterbury Bulldogs over the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I will say this. I thought the Dragons looked really good to start this game. I thought that the key injuries and everything really were costly for the Dragons. They had to obviously, and I said this a few weeks ago, they had an injury to Moses Sully against the Roosters. They had to move Tommy Eisenhuth out of the middle. He moved to an edge in that game, and I thought their middles just fell apart. And I was really worried that was going to occur in this game as well. But Tommy Eisenhuth moved out to the edge, and in my opinion, he's one of the better defensive players in this competition, let alone the Dragons. And he just completely went to water in this game. I would almost go as far as saying, and this is just my opinion, I would almost go as far as saying that he must have been injured or he got away with a concussion there, because he was just not himself, Tommy Eisenhuth, which was bizarre. The bloke never misses tackles. To miss that many one-on-one tackles, very, very disappointing. Outside of that, look, I thought the Dragons started really well. They were well and truly in that game. And then I do think that as soon as they had to make some changes, they lost a middle in Harm Saleh, lost an outside back, which saw Tommy Eisenhuth move out there, and he just wasn't up to doing that job on that day. I think that really did cost the Dragons there. But the story is the Bulldogs. Second half was incredible. I think they scored 40 points in the second half. They absolutely blew it away. They didn't score in the first 5 minutes that half too, so it was about 40 points in 35 minutes. It was outrageous. I thought Jacob Kiraz was fantastic. Has been knocking on Michael Maguire's door as far as Origin goes. I don't believe he will get picked, but fuck, he's doing everything he possibly could. I thought Stephen Crichton was fantastic. Come up with some very, very big plays. Scored a try himself. Was everywhere, and I am very confident he will be an automatic pick in our New South Wales Blues side to be announced in the next 24 hours. I thought Jamin Salmon obviously scored the first 2 tries of the second half, was very good. Bailey Hayward really impressed me as well. That pass that he threw out to Kiraz, that was absolute magic. I said in the trials that I really, really like the look of this kid, and I know all the chat, it's about Hutcho and it's about Sexton. And shout out to Sexton, played a really good game, by the way. He was very impressive. But I'll tell you what, I know he might not have the name of these guys, but this Hayward, there's something about him, mate. He can sort of play lock, hooker, but I don't know. I'd be tempted to play him at halfback, to be honest with you. I love the look of him. Matty Burton, solid once again. I think he will be selected for the New South Wales Blues, whether it's at centre, 5'8", 14, I'm not too sure. But I do think that we need his long kicking game in the Origin arena. So, great win by the Canterbury Bulldogs. Very good gear. Friday, the early game, the Cowboys, 42 points to 28 over the West Tigers. This game was fucking wild. This was just insane. To watch the Cowboys come out and lead 20-0 and just do what the Cowboys do. Very, very impressive. And you sort of thought, okay, is this a bit of a turning point for the North Queensland Cowboys here? And then they just did what the Cowboys fucking do. Let the Tigers back into the game. I think the Tigers scored about 3 tries in 15 minutes or so. So disappointing for the North Queensland Cowboys again. I know they won. I know I'm going to sound like an asshole. But, 42 points to 28, when you're winning games and you're conceding 28 points when you led 20-0 after, 15 minutes? I don't know. I just find them super frustrating, the North Queensland Cowboys, because they are a good side and they should be a top 8 side. They don't need to be the best defensive side. They just need to be a mediocre defensive side. Honestly, it's all they need to do because they've got more points in them than just about anyone else in this competition not named, the Brisbane Broncos. Absolutely wild. Sammy McIntyre scored a try, good reward for what's been a fantastic season for him so far. Obviously coming from the Gold Coast Titans, really coming of age. Thought Val Holmes obviously finished big. Scotty Drinkwater had a hand in a number of things. And look, it's the same old story for the Cowboys. Attacking wise, they are fantastic. We can compliment them all day until the cows come home. It's just defensively, they just need to get this shit sorted out. And that's the thing, when I look at their extended squad, I sort of go, well, how many changes can you really make there? I assume Val Holmes, he'll go to Origin this week. Murray Tuolungi might be there as well. Came with some big plays as well. Came with a very big tackle at one point on young Josh Fellerty to get the ball back for them. So you will see other guys get opportunities, Braden Burns and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know what they have to do, but they just have to sort out this defense because they're a team that could give this premiership a real fucking shake this year. But defensively, they're just not up to it. For the Tigers, they do just get in their own way, don't they? They are a good footy side. They are improving. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. But they are just another team that's a little bit frustrating. The thing, though, that I look at the Tigers is that, you know, everything they've done over the last year or so, it hasn't been a 12-month plan. It's a 3-year plan, and I believe they are heading in the right direction. I thought Galvin was really good in this one. He came up with some very, very nice plays in this game. He really impressed me. He's a star of the future. I'll tell you what, the Tigers, as much as it's frustrating for them when you have games like this, they are doing so many things right and heading in the direction in so many positive ways that I'm still super excited about the Tigers. Despite a loss, super excited for them. I thought Finu was fantastic as well. He's been such a good find coming over from the Manly Seagulls. Very impressive. Alamalo had a bit of a mixed bag, a few drop balls in there and whatnot. I thought with the ball in hand, he was pretty solid, but did have a mixed bag. The Cowboys obviously picked him out pretty early to go at him. I thought that Alex Twal was everywhere. He was dynamic, got through a heap of work. Api Curacao, very strong again. Interesting to see if he gets picked in the New South Wales side or if they go for a Reece Robson. They went head-to-head here and probably broke about even, I'd say. I think it just depends on who the halfback's going to be and how Madge wants to play realistically. But, yeah, outside of that, not much more to touch on with this game. I mean, the West Tigers, they ran out there with 2 rookie centres out there, so it sort of wrote the game plan for the Cowboys, and when they were in good ball, they certainly executed on that. It's just that consistency that we've got to see more from them, the Cowboys. Yeah, not much more to say there realistically. Let's move to the late game. And fuck, this was an interesting game. Manly 26 to over the Melbourne Storm 20. This game was a very, very interesting one. I'll be honest with you, I didn't find this as enjoyable as I thought I would. I thought it was a pretty scrappy game, but it was close enough to make it super interesting the entire way. The Travojevic, obviously Benny and Jake scoring tries. Sounds like Jake will be the captain of the New South Wales Blues. I love that decision. I am all around it. They both had very good games. I love the way that DCE is playing at the moment. He's just running around like the age that he's at, to be running around as much as he is, and just to be, he's just dynamic at the moment, DCE. And he's in good form, and coming into this Queensland Origin series really, really does worry me as a New South Welshman, how he's going to go, because I feel like he's incredibly fit right now. He just doesn't seem to stop moving. As I said, for a guy his age, it always just shocks me how much work he gets through when you watch him close to him because of Origin incoming. Obviously, I was watching all these, Queensland and New South Wales players that are up for selection very closely, and just the amount of work DCE got through, he is just a fucking maniac. I thought Tommy Talau was very good as well. He's had a really good bounce back this year. It's been good for a long time, but he probably hasn't reached the heights that we thought Tommy Talau would have by now. And I think at the Manly Seagulls, he's starting to play some very, very good footy. Ruben Garrick, very good. Taniela Paseka, a solid game as well. Olaquatu, probably a little bit quiet by his standards. It's interesting. I think a lot of people sort of had him as an automatic for this New South Wales Blues side, but that performance that Hudson Young had in Canberra yesterday, I don't know if it's as automatic as we think, but I think Olaquatu will be there. For the Melbourne Storm, I thought Hughesy had a good game. I thought he was injured at one point, but he played a good game. Eli Katoa was great. Sua Fa'alogo, I just love watching this dude play. He is just entertainment plus Sua Fa'alogo. And he got close to scoring on a number of occasions throughout this game. He was just popping up everywhere. I I just love the energy that he runs the football with. He's going to have a fantastic career, and I can't wait to watch it play out. Thought Tyron Wishart set up a nice try for Hughesy. Just did his job, Tyron Wishart. He's not an out-and-out ball player, but fuck, I reckon he's a handy guy to have in your side. And when they needed him to come up with a big play, he certainly did. Outside of that, Harry Grant, solid. Trent Leroux started off the bench, but came on and had really good impact. Outside of that, not a stack to touch on with the Melbourne Storm from this one. As I said, guys, I didn't think this was the most... I thought scoreboard-wise this was entertaining, but I didn't think it was the highest level of footy, to be completely honest with you. But the Manly Seagulls, they just keep winning at home. I do have question marks whether the Manly Seagulls are a team that can win games come September. I do still have my question marks around them when it comes to that sort of stuff. But you can only judge them on what they've done so far, and they have been incredibly impressive. Let's move to Super Saturday. First game, the Roosters over the Raiders, 44 points to 16. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes when you're at an NRL club during the day or during the week or whatnot, you can sort of get a feel for how the team's going to perform that day. Remember when I was at the Dolphins last week, we did some content. I had a good feeling that they were going to win against the West Tigers. Obviously, they were favourites, but you could just tell by the way the staff and the players were getting around. It was a good week. I remember we went up there in round 2 after the Dolphins got absolutely trounced in round 1. And you could just tell the way that everyone was on their toes. They were excited. You could just tell it was going to be a good game for them, and they absolutely killed them that game. Honestly, walking into the Raiders yesterday, talking to some of the boys pre-game, I probably didn't see this coming. I thought they'd really compete in this game, and unfortunately really did get blown off the park, which was disappointing. I already gave the Raiders a wrap off the start for just the club and what they're doing at the moment. I was very, very impressed, but I thought Hudson Young, he was the standout in this one and may have put his hand up for a New South Wales jersey. I've always wanted Hudson in my team. I just struggled to fit him in when I did my side last week. He was the hardest to leave out. I don't know, after getting down there and watching him live the other day, I genuinely think I have to find a spot for him. And maybe it means I run with one less middle forward than what I'd hoped. But I just think he has to be there, Hudson. He was very, very impressive. I thought Matty Timoko up close, he's very impressive. Kale Weeks, he's really come on in his game, Kale Weeks. I still don't think he's a halfback, to be honest with you. And to be fair, I don't think Kale Weeks thinks he's a halfback either. But he's doing a job. He's doing what that team needs him to do at the moment. I know they didn't get the results, but I think he's heading in the right direction, Kale Weeks. Outside of that, probably not a heap to touch on. I'll tell you what, standing on the sideline next to Trey Mooney, he is a big fucking bit of gear. And I've always spoken about him as an extremely talented guy, but just seeing his body, I reckon over the next few years, he really does explode. But yeah, one of those games, Ricky Stewart tends to do this when he gets up, when he gets down quite a bit, the game's down and out, he'll tend to take off some of his big middle forwards, so like your Smithies of the world. Joe Tarpanay still had a really good impact, to be fair. But yeah, I think that probably by about the 50th minute, I think the Raiders sort of knew this one was getting away from them, unfortunately. Let's move to the Roosters, though. Spoils go to them. Tedesco was incredible. I don't know if he's going to get picked for the New South Wales Blues. I don't know if he did enough in this game. I don't know if Madge has already made his decision. I'm not too sure. But he couldn't have done much more here, Teddy. He was dynamic. I think the thing that I loved most about watching Teddy's game the other day was watching him off the ball, just how much he was talking and how active he was and whatnot. Came up with some really nice plays in his passing game as well, which he's been criticised for. I thought Sammy Walker was great as well. Watching him and the way that he bounces with confidence around. Very, very impressive, Sammy Walker. There was a play that sort of led to nothing, but he got the ball sort of off an offload and he threw this cutout to the other side of the field that watching it live, he just went, fuck. Like the football almost looks bigger than Sam Walker when he's holding it, but the distance that he moves the ball with is just incredible. Obviously, Joey Manu, he was lighting it up, 2 tries. He was dynamic down on that edge, just an incredibly strong human. Victor Radley, very good on the edge. I don't like him on the edge personally, but scored the first try. Was very, very good. And Angus Crichton as well, watching him up close and just how much energy he runs the ball with. I think he's pretty much in everyone's New South Wales side, but after standing down there and watching him up close, I would definitely put him in there. I'll tell you what, a guy in this game that didn't do an absolute heap but really impressed me watching down there on the sideline, and he was on in the first half. He was on the wing that I was standing on, Daniel Tupu. I'll tell you what, if Madge is going to pick Latrell Mitchell at left centre, which, there's every chance he will, and if he can't work out who that last wing spot's going to be, just watching him up close. I know Suoli's probably got the stats and he's got, the upside and everything, but man, Daniel Tupu he's just always in the right spot. His communication is good. You can just tell that all the defenders inside Daniel Tupu, they just have complete faith in him. And he's not a big talker, but just the times that he was communicating and whatnot, he's just always in the right spot. So I personally think if Madge was to go with a Daniel Tupu Latrell Mitchell combination, they would not. I believe Daniel Tupu would not let us down. He's probably not going to be picked in too many sides by people out there. But watching him up close was just a reminder of what he's capable of doing and just how solid he is for the Sydney Roosters out there. White was very impressive. First time I've really seen him up close playing. Big bit of gear. I actually didn't realise how big he was in real life. Very, very intimidating little character there, White. So very impressive. Got to catch up with Connor Watson on the sideline. He reckons he's back, I think, round 15, he said. So a few more weeks. Devastating, the timing there for Connor Watson. You absolutely fucking hate to see it. And I actually missed it out there when it happened. I was talking to people and whatnot, but Egan Butcher apparently also picked up an injury that could be an ACL. We'll have to wait and see, hear results on that. We want to wish Egan all the very best. Comes from a very, very good family and a good fella, Egan Butcher. Let's move to the 5:30 game on Saturday. The Penrith Panthers 42-0 over the Sharkies. Oh, boy. I know Nicho Hynes got injured, didn't return in the second half, but mate, this is the closest thing that Nicho was going to get to taking on Queensland, the Penrith Panthers, and the way that they defend. And, they showed some serious cracks in his game that I'm sure Queensland will be well and truly aware of. If you just put hyper pressure on him and if he's on the back foot and you can pressure him, 2 kicks out on the full, and just a few other errors, a poor missed tackle for, I think it was Alan Motti that crossed over. This was not a good day out for Nicho Hynes. Obviously got injured. Honestly, it might have been a little blessing because I kind of felt like that was going to go from bad to worse. And this isn't, picking on Nicho Hynes and whatnot, but it was only a couple of days ago that I was picking my entire New South Wales Blues side around Nicho Hynes. I was picking a fullback that suited Nicho. I was picking a hooker that suited Nicho. I was worried about whether the lock forward pick in Isaiah Yeo was going to suit Nicho. And we really needed him to stand up in that game, and he didn't. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here. I personally reckon Madge Maguire picks a squad, doesn't really name positions and whatnot, and we see where we go from there. But I am, I'm a little bit nervous about the selection of Nicho Hynes and building an entire side around him, if I'm completely honest. And once again, he's been very good the last few weeks. They beat Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. He didn't play in that one. Still hasn't really dominated a big game, and he's only had limited opportunities. I understand that, but whether it be finals, origins, test matches so far, I don't know. And I'm if they go with him, I'm going to back him in because I think it's a matter of time till he does start to dominate those stages. But I'll tell you what, that was very worrying the other night to watch a Penrith side that's missing a heap of players do that to Nicho at Shark Park. Very, very alarming. I'm not going to lie. Other guys, I thought Cam McInnes was very good. Got through a heap of work defensively. I'm expecting to see him be named for the New South Wales Blues, and I've said it for a number of years now. If Cam McInnes was a Queenslander, he would have already played 15 Origins, so I'm stoked to see him get an opportunity. Jesse Raymond was okay. I'm not sure. I know that Kempy, Matty, and Dorr the other day had him as in their Origin sides. I'm not completely convinced yet how he's going to go on that stage, to be honest with you. I understand where the boys are coming from, but he wasn't in my team and he still isn't, despite injuries and stuff. I probably still don't have a spot for Jesse Raymond. So I'll see how that plays out. I thought Britt Nikota was solid, got through a heap of work. Outside of that, though, no one really jumped off the park. Obviously, 42-0 against Penrith. It's a very, very tough game to compete in. So won't hold it against the Sharkies, but far from their best performance. For the Penny Panthers, Jerome Luai jumped into halfback and looked amazing. May have played himself into a New South Wales Blues jersey. He was very, very good. Jerome Luai. Edwards, as per usual, dynamic, popping up everywhere. We know that when Nath Cleary isn't there, Edwards just takes his game to another level. Thought Jack Cole was really good. I think it was a hamstring injury he came up with, but did score a try. Had some really nice plays. I've said for a while, I think Jack Cole would be my 5'8" next to Nathan Cleary for next season. So we'll see what happens there. But Jack Cole, I still think he's got a very, very big future. Mitch Kenny came up with a few poor plays, but was pretty good on a whole. Set up a few tries and whatnot. Outside of that, good to see Liam Henry score his try. Paul Alamotti, very solid. I'm not quite sure what's happening with Taylor May or where that situation's going to end up, but Paul Alamotti, he's grabbed it with 2 hands recently, and I think he's going to stay in the side and have a good year. Outside of that, not too much to touch on with the Penny Panthers. Liam Martin, an interesting watch, only played about 40-odd minutes there. I think it was Harry Grant asked someone post-game, Jerome Luai, if he was injured or whatnot, and he just sort of said, he'll be there in Origin, don't worry about him. So whether that's true or whether he just doesn't want to give a Queenslander too much, we'll wait and see. But I personally, as a New South Welshman, I hope and pray that Liam Martin is sweet to run out in that one. Last game we're going to do today, guys. South Sydney, 42 points to 26 over the Parramatta Eels. Bit of a weird game, this one. Obviously, two teams that aren't travelling all that well, let's be honest here. South Sydney managed to get the job done. Neither team was impressive in any way, shape or form to me. I think that both these teams, there's probably 12 sides in the competition that would have beaten both of them yesterday. And that's not trying to be an arsehole. That's just calling it as I see it. South Sydney started really well. I think they led about 18-0, let Parramatta back into the game. A couple of sin bins and whatnot that played a role in this one. Latrell Mitchell got sin bin just before halftime. Sort of got Parramatta back into the game a little bit. A few injuries in this game as well, which wasn't great to see with two teams that are already suffering injuries. But look, South Sydney, they managed to hold on. Indigenous round, a very special one for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I thought Keon Kolomatangi was the best on field by far and away. I don't think he's done enough this year to be in the Origin frame, but definitely saved his best game for that one. But once again, against another team that was sort of struggling. Shout out to Dion, who scored his first try at halfback there. You love to see it. Been a very good player coming through the juniors and a special moment for the young bloke. Damien Cook scored playing at centre. Brad Fittler doing a little I told you so there at home. But yeah, look, South Sydney, at the moment, with how they're going, they just needed a win. Who gives a fuck how you get it? Who gives a fuck how ugly it is? And who cares who it is against? Sometimes a win can just change the temperature in the room. And personally, I don't think it will at South Sydney. I still think they're in a world of hurt. But maybe it can be the little moment that can hopefully start to turn this season around, or at least send it in a positive direction. For Parramatta, mixed bag for Blaze Talangi, but I'd seriously still be considering keeping him at fullback. I know he had a couple of drop balls and he had some key missed tackles that Gutho probably would have made, but I don't think Gutho is going to be the fullback for the next 10 years, obviously, at his age and whatnot with injuries. So I just wonder if in a season where they've now got a new coach, they've got a heap of injuries, they're a little bit up shit creek, do they just learn hard lessons at the moment, play Gutho at centre and let Blaze play fullback and get some experience into him so he'll be better for the run next year? I don't know, but I really don't mind the idea, to be honest with you. There was a try that Mike Acevo scored that it was set up by Bryce Cartwright, and it was real vintage 2013 Bryce Cartwright playing Harold Matson SG ball, absolutely dominating, floating along, showing under, nice little cutout ball, playing through the line as well, very impressive. But yeah, look, as a whole, pretty disappointing for the Parramatta Eels. This season's getting pretty ugly for them as it stands. Where are they sitting now? 14th, yeah. Yeah, that's a bit of a shit fight for Parramatta. South Sydney obviously doing worse, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Mitch Moses hopefully back soon. I kind of hope for Parramatta's sake that Mitch Moses isn't selected in Origin. I think that they just desperately need him back around the club and back on the field for them. So see how it plays out. But I'll tell you what, after watching Nico the other day, if Mitch Moses said that he is fit and available, I'd probably pick him at halfback. I'd probably take a little bit of a gamble. Very similar to Cody Walker, who was out of this game as well. Another one pushing for an Origin jersey this year. So far from ideal for both of those guys. But personally, and I know our last few Origin series have been derailed by injured guys. I get it. But I don't know. I kind of think I'd be willing to take a punt on those guys. So we'll see how it plays out there. But yeah, plenty to consider. I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm not Michael Maguire, because it would be an absolute head fuck this week. All right, legends, thanks for joining us once again on the Rapid Review. The two games that are being played as we speak. You've got the Brisbane Broncos and the Gold Coast Titans, and then the Dolphins and the Wars going head-to-head today. We'll review them a little bit later today on the Rugby League Guru podcast, or tomorrow if you're watching on YouTube tonight.